So I tried telling my dad that he ought to see The Room before he goes sees The Disaster Artist, and all I could think of after I said that was this.
You are lying. I never hit you. You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
My God, he makes the cast of Y&R look Oscar-worthy. So The Disaster Artist stars James Franco as Tommy Wiseau, the producer, writer, director, and lead actor of one of the worst movies ever made, The Room. And the movie chronicles his friendship with Greg Sestero, played by Dave Franco, how production of the movie was both simultaneously weird and tense, and the way Wiseau thinks of himself as an artist before and after people see his movie. I'm not kidding when I say this, every time I saw him on screen, I kept forgetting that James Franco was the one playing Tommy Wiseau. Because his impersonation, ranging from the bizarre facial expressions, the unrecognizable accent, and the fact that he keeps making incomplete sentences, is absolutely spot on. It's easily my favorite performance of his. And even though the movie takes every opportunity that it can to make fun of his behavior and the fact that he keeps secrets from his own friends about where he's from or where his money comes from for that matter, Franco uses those exact same traits to also make him a compelling and sympathetic character. When he sees Greg with his girlfriend, he starts to act bitter and jealous, and then when he goes off to write the script, the first thing I could think of was, did he base Mark and Lisa off of Greg and his girlfriend? It's little hints like that that are left up to the viewer's imagination. You can use those little hints to create your own backstory about him. But in a weird way, you can still root for him because he's not making this movie for fame and glory. He's obviously not making it for money. He just wants to show people his own unique vision. He's basically this century's version of Ed Wood. And his obliviousness actually makes him seem innocent every time he fails. Dave Franco is also really good as Greg Sestero. I'm usually not a fan of his because he seems to only portray characters who are annoyingly rude or stupid, and that's just about it. But here he's pretty restrained, and he portrays Sestero as someone who has a lot of dreams and ambitions and wants to be successful, but he's afraid to act out of fear that people won't like him. And it makes sense when he sees Wiseau perform on stage and admire how fearless he is as an actor. But later on, when he becomes more involved in Tommy's life, he's more conflicted on whether he'll hurt Tommy's feelings when production goes wrong, or if he should call him out on the fact that he's rude every time his cast and crew disagrees with him. Something James Franco also does well as a director is not just replicate many of the best scenes from The Room, but he also creates an uncomfortable atmosphere that you would probably feel if you were a part of this production. If you were working alongside a director who had no experience in filmmaking and would never listen to any advice or even constructive criticism, you wouldn't be constantly laughing. You'd be frustrated every day. And while there's not a ton of development centered around the crew members, after every awkward scene from The Room is shown, it would cut to these wide shots of the crew members in complete disbelief of what they're seeing, and their faces say all you need to know. And when things get tense between Wiseau and the crew members, these scenes are usually shown in longer takes with documentary-style camera work so that the audience can really feel the confrontation as it plays out. The only main issues that I have with the movie are, there's this one scene where Tommy introduces this guy who's there to film the B-roll, or the behind-the-scenes footage. And later on, when he watches it and he sees the crew members mocking him for how bad he is, he obviously confronts them, but they seem surprised by the fact that there was a guy with a camera filming them the whole time, and it's just... Tommy introduced him in front of everybody on day one. How do you forget a guy who's just there to hold a camera and film everybody? I don't get that. And even though the replicated scenes from The Room are funny to watch and almost entirely shot for shot, there are some scenes where it's obvious when they're even slightly different, and they don't have the same effect as the original movie did, and it's mostly because the actors don't have the same pitch or tone that the original cast did. I know that seems like a really weird criticism to make, but I mean, you're trying to replicate how comedic one of the worst movies ever made was, and I don't know, maybe it's not that simple of a process, but for the most part, they still did a really good job at that. The Disaster Artist knows when to be funny and mock the people involved, and when to sympathize with their dedication to acting and filmmaking. There are other movies that have told a true life or even a fictional story like this before, like Ed Wood, or earlier this year there was an Amazon Prime movie called We Make Movies. But the story about Tommy Wiseau and how he made The Room has always fascinated me, and I'm glad that James Franco did such a great job at making a sympathetic portrayal of him as a person. And for that reason, I'm going to give The Disaster Artist a 4.5 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching, and have you seen The Disaster Artist, and if so, what did you think about it? Or better yet, what is your favorite quote from The Room?
What client?
I cannot tell you, it's confidential.
Oh, come on, why not?
No, I can't. Anyway, how is your sex life?
Be sure to let me know what you thought in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, check out my other reviews at noperfectmovie.com. And once again, thank you all very much for watching. Take care.